and it's freezing here. It's got to be in the upper 50s. Digging out some more relics for the old big block. Here's an old cast iron nose starter, high torque, big block, special deal there. Probably going to use that. Gear reduction would probably be better, but this motor doesn't have any compression in it, so this should be more than fine. The weight's the problem. So we got the motor in the car. Still have to paint the cylinder heads, to pull the valve covers off and do that in there probably. Tape all that black off. Maybe pull it back out again, I don't know. Ran into an issue with the motor mounts. Went and bought motor pedestals, the parts that are on the K-member there, for a big block. And when I put them on the car, they were for a 73 Nova, not a... They didn't go back to 72, 71, but the guy thought they'd work anyway. They had 4 holes instead of 3, and the holes were all in the wrong spot, and they were so low that the oil pan hit the cross member down there. So I put the small block mounts back on there, and it seems to fit really nice. I got one header on this side over here, just hanging it there to see where the exhaust is going to be, and all that looks really good. There's a jack under the oil pan, so it'll have a little more tilt, but I'm gonna have to run that MSD distributor. I didn't really want to run that because I don't have spark plug wires for it. I don't think so, unless it takes HEI wire, then I might be able to use the ones I have. But I don't know if the wires I have are compatible with the MSD either, so I'll have to figure that out. I'm sure they'll be good enough to fire it up. But it's in there. Everything seems to fit fine. The March pulley clears the cross member. Need to still get a water pump for it, and running out of funds, of course. But I need to scrape a water pump up, a water neck, and get this other header bolted on. I'm going to get an oil filter first, so I make sure it clears that. These are just Hooker Super Competition equal length headers. Buddy of mine took these off his car and went a little bigger, and I picked these up from him, second hand, of course. But yeah, I need to mount the fuel pump on the motor. I'm going to use a Carter high volume pump. It's 13 psi, and I think it's about 115 or 20 gallons a minute. It's more than enough for a small nitrous kit. So the fuel pump on the motor will run the nitrous, small shot up on the top, and the electric pump will be in the back of the car, and it'll run the motor. I got the flex plate there. I showed you that, I think. And the inside of the car is done, of course. I got to mount the shifter. I got to straighten all those wires out. That's pretty easy. It's not that bad on this car. But I still need to come up with some batteries and a shut-off switch. The car's going to have an on and off switch. The one that I had was bad. It went in the tail light. So here's the half-inch fuel line. It always cracks me up when I see guys trying to go fast with a factory fuel line or something that's too small. They always want to use the calculator, and they usually come up with a 3/8 fuel line, or a 5/16 with a return line even. I've seen people try to do that. I don't care how good your pump is. If you don't have any line volume, the car's not going to go fast. It'll just run out of fuel. Here's my other issue. I've got the caliper all painted, and I noticed one of them is a Delco Marine like it's supposed to be. And the other one is Hui Hon Chong. Oh, I don't know what brand that is because there's nothing on it. And it's similar, but it's a little different. Should work, you know. It's obviously new. This one's obviously rebuilt. So that's the brand there, OEM. So hopefully I can take this China one back and get an OEM one. I do have the two that came off the car. They could rebuild one of those, but the pistons are stuck in them. So the Delco Marines are supposed to have a stainless steel piston in them, and it's a little slightly larger diameter from what I understand. But this piston seems to be the same size, so this is a knockoff of the Delco Marine. This is actually a real SS car. Still got the clutch pedal in over there, and the tack and the dash, and the original Speedo cluster. Of course, you can't see that because it's covered with overspray, but we'll clean that up. When I get the dash part, I'll show you the factory tack. But anyway, that's where we're at. A little short update there. We got the alternator over there and the starter. I'm going to clean those up, paint them, make them look all pretty. And get the other header bolted on over there after I get an oil filter. And if anybody knows what oil filter a big block Chevrolet takes, you can leave a comment. It would be greatly appreciated. It's been a while since I bought a filter for a Chevrolet. I'm a Volkswagen guy, you know. I don't mess with these much anymore. And it's been 18 years since this car ran. And it had a small block in it last time, so I don't know if it's the same as the small block or if it's not the same or whatever. But if somebody has a number, part numbers are always good because people want part numbers when you go to the store nowadays. Got my rag joint for the steering. Got to put that together. And after I get the headers all mounted, I'll put the rest of the steering components under there, tie rods and pitman arm. I might hang this one first before I bolt the header, because it looks like it's going to be pretty tight in there, but I'm sure it fits with the header on. Of course, they wouldn't make it where you got to take the header off, but they might. I believe that's an idler on this side, not a pitman arm. So, and the pitman arm bolted to the bottom of the steering box. Anyway, it's looking good. We're making some progress, and forward motion is always good. That's the main name of the game here. I gotta go grab that wiper motor and see if it clears the valve cover there. And then somebody wanted to know why I wasn't going to run a power booster, and there you go. That's why. When you run roller rockers, there's very little room there with the tall valve cover, and the reason the valve cover is so tall is because later I'll have to incorporate a stud girdle. I just can't afford one right now. So after you buy the tall poly locks and put the girdle on there, you need all that room in the valve cover. So I knew from the past, doing a couple of these Novas for friends, that the valve cover never clears the power booster, and it's a real pain in the ass to adjust the valves. So this is a hydraulic motor, so hopefully I won't have to adjust the valves, and it doesn't wipe the cam out. I probably should have gone with a hydraulic roller in this, but it's just a motor I had laying around, and we threw it in there, so we'll see what happens. It's actually a 1972 Corvette motor that a good friend of mine that had a machine shop did for me a long time ago, and he passed away, so it's sort of a sentimental piece, but it's nothing really special. So that's about it. I think you guys are updated. I worked on the 1600 over there. I got the rockers bolted to there. Did a set of solid shaft rockers for it. It's got a set of scat push rods in there, and I'm going to go ahead and adjust the valves on that, put the rest of the sheet metal on, and deliver that bad boy. When they get some carburetors, I'll ride over there and we'll fire it up and break it in, put it in the bus. I was going to put a set of 48s on there. That's just a bunch of work that I don't need to do right now. So Chip came by today and brought his new bug pack shifter. Let me tell you, the bug pack shifter is super sweet if you got a bus. It's $220, but well spent money. I don't know if Chip believes that, but it worked really well. I put his new shifter in for him. We went for a ride, and they were having really good, and shifts really nice. The training worked out really well. And I put a little time in the motor. For some reason, it had like 28 degrees total advance, so I put a few degrees in there, and I gave it a little power and got rid of the flat spot that it had. I put a distributor in that not too long ago, and more than likely the cams wiring in the distributor or the points were wearing, one of the two. That's why the timing changed quite a bit. But anyway, it was good to get that bus done. Well, it's been done for a while and gone, but get the new shifter in there and have it shift really nice for him. I really was glad. That job sort of got sabotaged for me when I didn't have the money to order the stuff for the transmission. And when I do stuff for people, I never mark any of the parts up or anything. I just tell them to get the parts, and we'll get it done. So I went inside and I took every number off the box, every number off the tranny. I pulled the tranny apart. I counted the ring gear, counted the pinion. I figured out what ring or ratio it had. I identified that it needed a new reverse, and the reverse was exactly the same as the late model Type 1. I had all this stuff on paper for him, all the part numbers and everything, and as I was going through the process, I realized that it wasn't an 091 gearbox like Chip had thought it was. Being that I don't deal with a lot of those, I really didn't know. I know I had to modify some stuff on the tranny, like the output shaft, and make a mount for it to make it work in Chip's bus. But after checking the numbers, it was a 1976 to 79 Type 2 box. That's the heater. You got to turn it off or the garage will burn down next. Anywho, I didn't have the money to purchase the parts, so I don't make anything on the parts, so I wrote all the information down on a piece of paper and I handed it over to Chip. And Chip's a friend of mine, you guys know that. It's not like it's a customer situation. But if it was, it would have been really a bad deal. But I gave Chip the list of parts. He called out there, got a hold of the owner. And the owner was just filling his head full of nonsense, telling him that I wouldn't be able to rebuild his tranny and I didn't have the tools that were required and I wouldn't know how to properly set the shift forks up. And it put a lot of doubt in his head, and like it would with anybody, most people just put their trust in you and you tell them what you know and they take that for what it's worth. But when they talk to somebody like the guy that he did out there in California, and the guy just gives them a bunch of negative thoughts and tells them that I won't be able to do something, that he doesn't know me or never met me, it put me sort of in a bad situation because it filled Chip's head with a bunch of bad stuff. So when I put the stock shifter in there that was a piece of shit, it was less than sweet. You really had to find the gears more or less. The shifter had much more of a gait than the transmission did, so you had to be very careful where you put it. I could drive it no problem, but Chip didn't really like it, and he had trouble driving it at first. The bus sat here for about 4 weeks, so I think he actually forgot how to drive it. He got to where he could drive it pretty good with that shifter, and he went down and exchanged the empty shifter that didn't work. We messed with that for almost a half a day, trying to adjust it, make it work, but it wouldn't shift properly. But when I put the bug pack shifter in there, it came with a brand new plate. It's all self-contained, new spring. There's no plate to put underneath it and guess what size the ball needs to be or where it needs to be, and it works like new money now, man. It's really sweet. So that's a step up from the MP shifter for sure. I think the MP shifter is $80-something. That one's $220. But it's well worth the extra money because it just bolted right in with no nonsense and shifted really good. We went for a ride and he's really happy with it now. And we sort of talked about, the whole parts experience, ordering parts. So the only thing I learned from that is if I ever do anything for anybody, I'll just source the parts myself. Because it's unfortunate in this day and age that, parts places want to become specialists and, question whether the guy that's buying the parts is able to do the job. And that's really not what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to supply you with the parts. Anyway, it all worked out for the best. The training works really well. And here's to the guy in California. Training worked fine. It wasn't my first one, so have it be. But I didn't really want to get into it on the phone with him about how many trainees I built or whether I had the tools or not. That's not why I made the phone call. I just wanted parts. But enough of a rant. trying to keep it positive here. And the good thing is that it works really well, and I'm happy with the way it turned out. And you guys got to see a little bit of it on video, so. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off because this is a long-ass video, and my battery's about dead. So I'll shut this down. You guys have a great night. A better tomorrow, and we'll try to get some more video of this. Maybe some electrical work, stuff like that. I know some of that stuff's really boring, so I'm trying not to bore you guys. But we'll try to get back at it. I got to try to return those mounts that I opened. Andrea said she can do it, no problem. And probably buy some spark plug wires with that money. But until then, we'll accumulate some more stuff and we'll get back on this. And we'll start getting on the paint work probably next week. It's going to be orange. I don't know if I showed you the color. Let me walk over here to the paint department. I'm going to use PPG on this. I'm just going to use straight toner. Of course, I'll have to put a little balancer in there. I'm using 616, which is indigo orange. So it's going to be a straight tint. It's pretty bright ass orange. Really solid color. And I figured by using the straight tint, I won't have any color match issue. I'll go ahead and mix it all up and make probably about 2 gallons, which is way more than I need. So if I run into any problems or anything like that, I'll have plenty of material. But I want to mix it all up at once, blend the 2 cans together, because I'm going to paint this all in pieces. It's the only way I can do it. The paint room's not big enough to paint this thing all together and have all the parts in there. So we're going to work on doing the jambs and getting the doors painted and the fenders. And I'll paint the car as it sits, all pieces just like it is, with no doors on it. Paint the quarters, the roof, and the rockers and the door jambs, and then we'll drag the doors and stuff in there and do those separate, and the fenders, and then bolt it all together. That's I think going to be the best game plan. So I told you I was going to go. I'm going to go this time. You guys have a good one, and we'll talk to you later. Don't forget to like and subscribe.